need the car. Take the bus.
Now I am become death, the destroyer of worlds.
Yep. This looks like a Souls game. Lords of the Fallen. The second RPG in the series where the only role you're allowed to play is that of a victim. Yes, this is the second game, and yes, they named it exactly the same. This was probably an attempt to make us forget how bad the original was or that it even existed, but I remember. This game has been accused multiple times over of being a Dark Souls 1 clone. I am here to tell you, it kinda is. However, it genuinely does not feel like some cheap copy. It understands the elements that made the original games great, uses them, and adds a little bit on top.
I have been falling for 30 minutes!
At launch, a total train wreck, but after patches and real dev care, it evolved into something I would call a student that in some ways surpassed its master. I might be biased due to it clearly having some elements that I prefer, but even if you believe it does not stand up to the OG, it is a solid game. Let's see why.
The fallen god's influence pervades the world again, corrupting even sworn enemies. To join his accursed lords of the fallen and damn humanity to a new age of devastation.
The setting is still in its 2000s phase. Dark, hard to understand, but quite desirable. In classic Souls-like fashion, you have to read item descriptions to get the small details. However, even without this, the dialogue and overall main bosses are enough to paint a discernible picture of exactly how absolutely doomed you all are, without having to watch some 50-hour-long lore video. The opening cinematic, fittingly, sees the death of the Lamber. Oh, no, that is not us. We are not that cool. We just died off screen somewhere and are revived by this guy dumping his stash and escaping from the demon police.
Glorious wisdom guide my hand in the bestowment of this subsequent boon. Hey, you.
No, no, not this again.
Your flesh has been made sacrosanct
better.
with the mark of the Dark Crusaders.
Now we have a lamp and some moths. Some say cute flying furballs don't belong in a grim game. These are the same people who think Canada is too nice because they don't know its history. Anyway, this guy forcibly enlists us in his little cult and just leaves us here. Apparently, this is the edgy arm of the church. We are imbued with umbral magic, which is somewhat similar to death magic, but somehow still serve the light. This is to show you exactly how desperate things are around here. Actually, I remember another time the church made a dubious pact in a controversial time. I'm sure this time it will go better. As in most games, the character wakes from his slumber with a renewed and indiscriminate need to deplete health bars, culminating in the demo boss Pieta. Oh, okay, weird entry. I'm sure it was accidental.
A betrayal made flesh, and one I cannot brook.
One cool fight scene and many deaths later, we end this, and somehow Palpatine returned. Okay, I'm starting to exhibit suspicions whether or not that intro was accidental. After this, we reach the main hub, and Pieta, which apparently is one of the good guys, was in a period of womanly blood rage, fixed by general violence. However, suffering from typical anime boss fight syndrome, once joining our side, she's severely nerfed, in both height and footwear, being relegated mostly to healing duties. By the way, how does Pieta heal us? Sanguinarix? Oh, how cool. How does this work? Okay, I'm willing to bet money that whoever designed this character initially had a different method of administration for this holy blood. Our indoctrination agent is also present, which forces upon us the task of ending Judge Cleric, who, while supposed to maintain the Batman signals, has been afflicted by the same disease as Pieta and ended up corrupting the seals, aiding the return of Adir, the demon god. So, naturally, off we go to end God, I guess.
Our hearts with hope, and guide our path eternal. Turn our gaze from what lies beyond your luster.
Let's talk a bit about presentation. It is one of the best looking games I have played, and while on release its performance has been somewhat problematic, I have recently been able to play it on a GTX 1650. I even forgot loading screens are a thing until writing this review. There are videos out there comparing it to games such as Elden Ring, which do a better job, as YouTube compression ruins my video. However, think of Dark Souls with a Western style and modern graphics. Besides the breathtaking scenery, there is plenty of armors, weapons, and spells. There's also the added bonus of being able to freely change the colors on all armors. Art does not need to be beautiful, but convey ideals and evoke emotions. Oh yeah, I've got some feelings about this, alright. Honestly, everything is impressive. The only area somewhat lacking is attack animations, which are solid but not on par to the golden standard of From Software. UI is clean, functional, and one feature away from perfection. Give me a sell duplicates button, please. The music and audio department also nails everything with dynamic tracks and satisfying hits.
I clicked the fucking potion again.
Again, there is one small issue here with dialogue. While the vast majority of the lines are incredibly well delivered,
My soul, such a heretical burden. I cannot help but feel like this path only leads me, leads all of us, further from Aureus's light, not closer to it. Exactor, there must be some other way.
So you deem my guidance injudicious?
No,
And your soul of greater significance than the world entire?
Forgive me, Lamp-bearer. I'm Pietà, of the Hallowed Sentinels. And as Aureus sustains me, so too will I sustain you.
That lamp you've got there is heresy, stranger. But then, seems it's getting harder to tell what is and what ain't nowadays.
there are some questionable moments. The soundtrack is bombastic and threatening while maintaining some grim tones. It is not only high quality, but incredibly fitting. This is the kind of music that would be played in a crusade recruitment propaganda video for joining a losing war against unimaginable horrors. I know that graphics and overall presentation do not matter as much as gameplay, however, I still see it as a big plus. Not that the gameplay would not be an absolute blast. The one thing that kept me from fully enjoying the Dark Souls series was the fact that I kept screaming at my screen, "It was not my fault!" However, I had this moment exactly once in this game. Damn wallhack laser beams firing through walls from another dimension. I think this is because of how enemy attack animations work. The enemy's range of engagement is smaller than that of their leap. They jump in close enough to hug you and only then extend their weapon, always reaching you. So bad hitboxes hardly matter, if any even exist. As far as bosses go, they're cool and usually weird. However, there is a saying, in a Souls-like game, the combat is as good as its enemies, and these are somewhat hit or miss. There's some really cool designs besides the bosses themselves.
Hey, you always get stuck there.
But there are also some generic and a couple of reskinned ones, depending on the environment they belong to. Some games, at some point, give you a boss version of a normal enemy. A mini-boss, if you will. Here, it is done in reverse. Before being allowed to fight the weak version, the game first slaps you with the beefed up one. This serves as a more interesting challenge as the enemy is an unknown, while also give you ample opportunity to get acquainted with their moveset. As far as actual bosses go, they're cool and usually weird. I had a fun time progressing and learning the fights. And their lore is well paced, giving you enough of it before the fight to paint an initial picture, while having some interesting and usually tragic reveals to be found later on. The map feels like Dark Souls 1, a central hub with branching paths, checkpoints, and shortcuts back to the center. I honestly really like it, but that may be because I was addicted to this game and sank way too many hours a day into it. For some, real life might force breaks, and when coming back to a game without a minimap function, this might leave them in a confused state.
There is no map in this map. Give me the map no man can read.
If you could read it, then it wouldn't be called the map no man can read.
The combat features are the expected ones. Light and heavy attacks, dodges, blocks and parries, health, stamina and magic. There are a few small changes, such as the posture of enemies being visible and represented by that little circle over there. There's also two types of dodges, like in Bloodborne. One short and risky, from which you can easily retaliate, and one that covers a larger distance and is safer, but will close your attack window. Overall, melee combat is a solid execution of a traditional design. There is also magic, which has been highly praised in this game. Honestly, I just find it a nice addition to my melee-focused build by having some extra buffing and utility spells. However, it is a robust system. Multiple magic schools, an opportunity cost between ranged weapons and magic, a wide variety of spells with different effects, damage, weird lightning, buffs... okay. Let's be real, magic builders just fire the mega laser, the melee ones use some buffs and one ranged spells, and PvPers just abuse the hell out of it. Oh god, I forgot! PvP exists. Considering that I am consistently reminded of it, my mind probably decided to protect me from these traumatic memories by wiping them. Before anyone yells, "Get good," hear me out. 1. If fighting enemies while invaded is only really hard, then normal fights aren't hard enough. 2. Invading newbies just makes me feel like a bully. No fun in dropping on someone whose only sin is not knowing he can disconnect from the fight. Sure, going in a 2v1 and coming out on top is exhilarating, but those moments are far in between. And I feel like this system is an infected limb that should have been cut off. The system got some improvements quite recently with an opt-out option. Understand, I do not want this for myself. I want this so any invasion targets are ready and willing. While on the multiplayer subject, let's talk co-op. The developers went to great lengths to make this work, making it both seamless and scaling. You can either join a friend's world and only his world state progresses, or you can join your world states should they be similar enough, and both of your individual world states progress. There is also a solid scaling system which ensures your power is brought down to the level of the host, so you don't just one-shot everything. Despite that, co-op makes this game quite easy, as enemies have a hard time dealing with 2 targets. The intended way to play this is solo, at least for the first run. Besides all the previously mentioned, there is the rest of the classics. A lot of weapon types, upgrades, runes, levels, quests, secrets, vigor, flasks, consumables, dying, bonfires, and... What the... Okay, let's talk about the extra spice this game has on top of the formula you are used to. Our lamp offers us access to the umbral realm, which is a world overlapping the normal one. You can stare into this abyss, but it stares back. Mesmerizing, terrifying, and... oh shit. Yeah, this isn't a mere grading or saturation color change. There's a lot going on in here, just nothing good. The art and aesthetics change, as this is clearly a different place, and not one where the living are welcome. This is further reflected by your health. In here, you may notice your HP is sometimes of a different color. Temporary health. This is gained by healing or when taking extra damage. The next hit decides whether this bar turns into actual health or not. You hit the enemy, then your healing potion actually did something. The enemy hits you, and it is all gone. As for enemies, there's new types here, and they just keep spawning in. The Eye awakes when spending too much time in the maw, and the Jailer is... yeah, if you spend too much time in this place, you get to face Mr. Red Nazgul, which blocks all healing, backs you into a corner, and proceeds to hug you. Repeatedly. All of this is not for nothing though, as the more time you spend in this printer is out of magenta world, the more rewards you get. And, should you defeat Mr. Little Red Riding Hood, you get 3 times more souls. Risk and reward. Besides the fat stacks of Grandma's inheritance money, there's also a bunch of secrets and progression points, which incentivizes you to visit the 80s. And this isn't one of those hit this door 5,000 times so it opens. If there's something in Umbral, you get a sound.
Dude, is that you or is that the motor?
Then, good luck figuring out the puzzle. But at least you know there is something there, so you do not accidentally pass it without that YouTube guide. Some enemies in the normal world have a shadow in Umbral, which buffs them massively, and this is just one of the mechanics that may force you to utilize the lamp, or just voluntarily enter Umbral. Some of you might ask, voluntarily? Are you implying there is another method besides the moths in our lamp? Yeah, there is another moth. How can anyone consider that cute? This is this game's spooky version of the Mimic, which, after traumatizing you the first time, it will give you an unhealthy obsession of checking every single loot with your lamp. Overall, a lot of people hate the Umbral realm, and cite a variety of reasons. It is required, it is forced, it is annoying. Honestly, this is Dark Souls with the added gimmick of Umbral. The one fair critique of it is that after the first run, when the challenge of the game might be somewhat lessened, people just progress in umbral only. With little risk, you just go for the extra rewards. Though I feel this is massively amplified, if not even caused, by power scaling issues. The final argument that I have heard is it makes this game easy. Okay, difficulty in a game like this deserves its own section. A section which will probably get me more dislikes than the YouTube rewind of 2018. The challenge in Dark Souls isn't difficulty, it's just punishment. Okay. Give me a second to explain. I'm not saying there is no skill involved. I am saying that while it does test aptitude, it does punish mistakes even more so. Sometimes it even punishes by methods of varying consistency, and it almost never fits the crime. I've never been stuck watching my character slowly get up, knowing he will randomly move in a direction and fall off the map. Unless I get hit, then fair game. I failed. When encountering a mimic, it will not kill me. It sends me in umbral, where I'm stuck between enemies that were not there seconds ago. My health low, my temporary health flashing, telling me my next mistake might be my last. I do not drop through 50 levels of the map where I get stuck in a location where there is little chance I could get my souls back. In this game, you get them from where you jumped. And on the topic of collecting your souls, you don't just speedrun all the way to where you died. Here, the enemy that killed you holds them. So, you have to defeat him before you take your cash back. When you die here, you go into umbral for a second chance. But do not think this is a free pass to go back to the last save point. Again, healing is limited, enemies keep spawning. I'd make the argument that Lords of the Fallen is harder, beefier and more damaging enemies with tighter windows of damage, but they are always fair. You can still die and lose all your souls, forever. You can still get hit and fail a close boss fight, having to redo the entirety of it. But not have to track the 60 miles of enemies that I have already beaten so many times we are both tired of each other. This is not a test of skill, but of patience and cardio. Having limited and temporary save points before bosses is a blessing. And you know what? No, you already hate me, let's talk difficulty. Be honest with yourselves, how many times did you take the easy route? Yeah, I'll come back later when I will outscale the boss. How many times did you get tired of a bullshit mechanic? Give me a guide on how to cheese this boss. Were you ever afraid of not being able to respec? What is the most efficient range build so I do not have to interact with the boss's timings? People don't even consider you truly played the game if you played this build or that build. And I kind of see where they come from. Look at this. Is this an expression of skill to you? Do you want to know what's hard? The Crucible. Yeah, in this game you get to fight each boss scaled up. There is no cheesing this. It is already tuned for maximum efficiency. And you know what is harder than fighting the first boss scaled up? Fighting the first two bosses back to back. And if you die, you reset. And you want to know what's even harder? Fighting all the bosses scaled up back to back. You have to prove you can think up, put together, and execute a proper and functional build. Then, utilize the skill with consistency, without deaths, to kill each boss in the game. And you know what's even harder? Repeat it 3 times to get all of the rewards and prove you did not just get lucky, punk. And you know what's even harder? My uncle's doing all this on NG+, NG+2, NG+3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 100, 1000. You think you're good? Keep going. This is how you do difficulty, not by giving me methods to outscale, not with mismatching hitboxes, not with one difficulty under the pretext of giving everyone the same experience. Who on earth wants to give the same challenge for different people, of different skill and different experience? Why not just make one build then? Why not one weapon? Why does being overweight cause blue hair in some women? Be real, it's because even though the stories are absolutely mesmerizing, most people have to read a wiki article or watch a YouTube video to get it. The delivery method sucks. Once the random punishment gets removed, there's not much left. Here, they're not afraid to sometimes separate challenge and story, because both are good enough to stand on their own. I understood the story all by myself, like the big boy I am. I unlocked more and more pieces of the lore with each different choice and path I took. Bosses challenged me every time and felt good to learn and adapt to. For example, this here is the best design for a two-body boss. You have to end both at the same time, so you go in melee with one while the other casts ranged spells. When the first has an opening, you do not ask the RNG gods if it overlaps with the other one or you are about to be hit off screen. You see him because he casts magic. Okay, but when you go to melee the other boss, would the first one not just hit you in the back? No, because they are coded to switch behavior. And now the original one starts casting different magic and the second one goes into melee. Peak design. The only small issue I have is that, like in most games, you can, by accident even, outscale the enemies. Okay, let's calm down. Maybe that punishing element is good. Maybe it is what you seek. But it undeniably comes with issues, which I am personally unwilling to deal with. This one decided to remove large parts of it. Some of the good parts stayed. Some got accidentally cut along with all the bad ones. This game is more difficult. However, it is more respectful towards my time and more fair, for better or for worse.
I look upon you with pity, my lost child. For you have been deceived. Another sinner. They brand me evil. A tyrant. And yet I offer you something they will not. A choice.
Now that we have a decent grasp on how, let's see what is happening. Small spoiler-free advice first. Go through the Manse of Hallowed Brothers to the Empyrean before you go to Bram's castle. It will make much more sense while you're in the game. Alternatively, follow the NPC you meet after exiting the hub, Techtir, through the wiki. I cannot tell you exactly why without spoiling things, but you ruin pacing, quests, and enemy scaling if you do not. Next, quick story recap before going into spoilers. The cool guy died, we inherited his cool lamp, killed Big Pieta, low-res revive Pieta, small healing Pieta, priest dude did what priests do, no, not that, Judge Cleric bad now, Judge Cleric corrupting Lox, Demon Goda released by Lox, current mission, and Judge Cleric. Okay, we are up to date and going into spoilers.
You're starting to see through their lies. Church, crusaders, sentinels, corrupt hypocrites, butchers and madmen, a lot of them. Fucking heretics!
The deeper we go into this world, the more obvious it becomes. Every character has flaws, and the Dormant Demon God and his Rogar did not hesitate to take advantage of them. Tancred, a devout knight and adept of the light, is actually a Siamese twin, whose brother is more vulnerable to outside influence.
Pain. Not so satisfying when you're on the receiving end. Now you will know darkness, brother.
The Hollow Crow merely wanted to save their sickly daughter and made a bargain with the devil for it. And Delva, the church used a child, no, not that way, to seal a tear in reality and send her to watch over her. But she abandons her duty, befriending the child, and ends up protecting it instead, marking them both as traitors. Who would even condemn the... Oh, of course, is you. This guy's job is dealing and researching Umbral. His fate is quite predictable, but more on him later. Andreas of Ebb, the traitor...
My pedigree cannot simply stand idle, while an unfortunate victim such as yourself remains...
I am so going to enjoy killing you. Drustan, the bumbling fool, trying to save his corrupt brother.
Hey, look at that. You're a lampy like me. Not gonna hurt us now we got these, eh?
Sparky, the enslaved blacksmith from the first game. Gerlinde, the one clearly evil German accented character that gets away scot-free? Really?
Sparky.
My name is not.
Silence!
Or, I'm not doing that name again. Searching for a home with his fate shattered, and Winterberry. Pause the video now, go onto the wiki, read the quest, and when you play this goddamn game, do it properly. Otherwise, you are earning a spot on Santa's naughty list. So, yeah, the NPCs in the hub share the same tragic fate. All but Pieta. I mean, sure, she wears too many spikes and too few shoes, but you're not gonna be a bad person. You are needed to upgrade our healing sanguinarics, right? Right? Anyway, while progressing through the bosses and the NPC's quests, we meet this dude. You know, the one who terminated your predecessor? This guy is Adir's umbral weaponry arms race response to the church. You see, since we are on a instant food level of a respawn timer, even if we fail, we can go again and again and again. But there are two ways still to end a Lambearer. One is the mysterious powers of Umbral just going, yeah, I'm out, and no longer reviving you, turning you into a respawn point. The lore reason for this is mysterious are the ways of the lamp. The second way is to voluntarily give up the lamp. You see, just like you, yes, you sitting in that chair, the only way your character can lose is by quitting. Adir and the developers' only shot at stopping you is to make the fight so brutal, so punishing, so infuriatingly frustrating that either you or your character finally rage quits. This comes in the form of the Light Reaper. He even has some fights that are pretty much a forced loss. This poor guy has a tragic story, just like the rest. Infused with an umbral parasite, just like the one in your lamp, once Adir fully takes control of the world, fearing and even despising his own devoted Frankenstein's powers and origins, he'll most likely erase him from existence. My man is literally working to replace himself. Wait a minute. Adir corrupts the Light Reaper, then rebuilds him with the umbral parasite, sends him on a mission to hunt down and terrorize the Lambearers, to the point where fear and trauma cripples them beyond functioning, whose fate in the end will be to be disposed of and sacrificed for the plan of putting Adir in power. And he has 4 arms. Wait, does that make Adir a Sith Lord?
I'm keeping it all for me, myself, and I, Ultron!
Scream and your entire staff dies.
I'm getting sidetracked with conspiracy theories. Let's go to endings.
Where wickedness dwells, and the shadows reign, arm us with your golden splendor, so that together may we vanquish the darkness. In light, we walk.
Let's talk about the endings. 3 in total. For the good boy one, you beat a boss, you... the beacon, and then you repeat. We finally reach Judge Cleric, and... where am I? Oh, you're a woman. Full armor, too. Not say... wait, a big woman? Does that mean... no...
A few moments later.
Oh, there is phase 2. You still don't wear any... never mind. So, we're done, right? Beacons cleansed, bad guy done? Well, not really. In the original game, the villain tried to summon Adir by forging a rune in his name. He was killed by Harken, the previous player. However, the rune proved more resilient than its creator. The man did what he thought best, and passed the burden of the rune to the highest church authority available, Judge Cleric. Slowly, she fell under its influence, and through her, Adir began to manifest and spread his corruption. And now we're left with this thing. Bro, it's literally a chicken's foot. The source of all evil is a chick's feet. What the fuck? Since we now know what doing the job halfway does, we go to face Adir ourselves.
They brand me evil, a tyrant, and yet I offer you something they will not. A choice. Reject the fanatical crusaders and the deranged servants of the self-proclaimed judge. Dismiss all of their false dogma and the torturous mission to which they have bound you. And only then will you know freedom. And if you would hear it, the truth.
Do you know that moment when the bad guy's plan and speech starts making sense? Well, too late now. We go in, we face the decayed Elder God in a rather pathetic boss fight, and credits. Really? After all the cool bosses, we get this one as a final. And he's trying to buy time, but he has the emotional control of a 5-year-old who just lost his favorite toy.
Shepherding them with wisdom and love. For I love all of my children. You are in the presence of a god-human. Your god. Kneel before me and beg for forgiveness.
And we just get to be an unwilling martyr. At least Adir gave him a cool two-headed dragon. Hey, Mr. Churchman, can I get one? Even a small, no, not that. Okay, negotiations failed, time to switch employers. There is no way this guy is weirder, right? Ending 2. We find out that Judge Cleric was one of the chainers, later named judges, who were actually priests of Adir. They ended up creating the beacons, betraying and banishing Adir through them to another dimension. Why? Well, due to the many external threats to his worshippers, rules and enforcers were eventually created. Rules which constricted authority, enforcers who punished the wayward. A slowly tightening noose around the freedom of his subjects that have long since forgotten the threats they are facing. Subjects whose sacrifices felt as nothing more than unjust punishment and blind vengeance. Are they making a poetic reference to how they treat difficulty and punishment compared to other games? While at the same time justifying the methods those games used? Which now seem unnecessary without the bigger picture, but actually serve a well-defined purpose? I am too deep in lore. I think I'm losing it, guys. We get the rune again, use it to mess up the beacons even more, and release our homeboy from prison. The voice, the implications, the shoes. Apparently several millennia in solitude made this guy a bit lonely. So the whole quest was just to get him inside of his favorite groupie because she abandoned him for another rock star? And why does she have to look this young? No, not you again. I just want to get rid of all of you at this point, so... Ending 3. Blessed be the Mother. So here we find out more about the lamps and she who thirsts, hungers. I mentioned before that lamps randomly stop working. Well, it's not really random. They actually only serve a bearer to the extent of their usefulness. Even the parasite inside the Light Reaper and the help provided to Adir is only an excuse to further erode the veil, to create and then weaken the beacons, the pathways to, apparently, not just Adir's world. We go collect some people's souls, like Gerlinde and the Iron Wayfarers, and lastly... No, come on. She's slightly weird, sure, but she was nothing but helpful. Look at her angelic face and... But she... What is this Tinder level of catfishing? Yeah, there's a lot of subtle hints throughout the game, from her orphanage days all the way to some references from Molu. But the blessed child of Orius is actually a child of a human mother and an umbral being. Some of you might ask, how?
Trust me on this one. You don't want to know. You shouldn't have told me, but you did. And now I'm telling you, you don't want to know.
her healing blood abilities being a side effect of her darker heritage. Apparently, the umbrals are driven by their desire to consume others, but their power does not come from this. It is actually a byproduct of being eaten, meaning that any being consuming umbral becomes stronger. However, should these delicacies be fed upon or survive starvation, they grow stronger and stronger. If you find this an original but convoluted system to grasp, just think about Super Saiyans, it's the same thing. So now back to our beloved Pieta. Unaware of her origins, she fed others from herself, starving and empowering her uglier side. Now this is a boss fight worthy of the game's end. This reveal was teased throughout the story. Then we get to fight a revamped, really cool first boss with new mechanics and animations. Everything is coming full circle. The developers hiding and ordering the endings like this is straight up cinema.
Oh, that's why.
The first one, where we get lied to and sacrificed for a lame boss fight, then angered to make a pact with the demons and get whatever that was. Finally, we just decide to wipe everything clean with a memorable boss fight. There is no need to read a long Reddit post to figure out something that has no bearing in the game. All the information and their consequences play out in front of you. The last things to mention is that playing the first game is not required, but adds a lot of depth to some characters and their reveals.
Man finally defeated its overlord. But gods do not fall forever.
Besides the first game, this one has DLC. This is not really paid content, it's just a supported developer pack. The legendary one is just a 3D model viewer and soundtracks. The Dark Crusader class is cool, but like all classes, it can be unlocked in the game. The rest of this is free DLC, containing armor colors and art. There is extra content, which some consider DLC, some consider events, but they are neither. They are quests which are always available to everyone. One for Halloween, one for each magic school, Radiant, Inferno, and Umbral. They all grant cool armor sets and weapons. If you want to go for something really crazy, there's also things like the Bucket Lord quests, which is... okay. There's also new systems in the game, one for co-op. Here you gain coins for assisting other players. One for avenging lamb-bearers. Sometimes you can fight optional powered-up versions of existing enemies that have managed to kill another player. It even shows you their name. You can even find your own, or some interesting ones. Lastly, PvP, where you engage in, well, PvP. All of these grant rewards with new colors and armors, but there are alternative methods to farm them, like the Crucible. That is a lot. The character creation is also well done. The triangle sliders especially make it easy to create a good preset. And advanced details are also available. There's also a quest to unlock mid-run changing your character. Besides New Game Plus, there's also game modifiers which allow you to circumvent farming, restore the map to the state from release, or just add extra challenge. A lot of extra challenge. These are not recommended on your first playthrough, however. This was supposed to be a ranged enemy. This is now a complete and functional game with in-game unlocks rather than paid DLC.
After all the time mankind have had to shape their own destiny, see what they have made of it. War, greed, hatred, suffering, chaos.
This is Lords of the Fallen, a Western-style Souls-like with extra edgy mechanics. It is not just inspired from Dark Souls, but straight up copies it in places, which then it improves. Some people call it the next Messiah. Some people call it an unmitigated dumpster fire due to its state on launch or the lamp mechanics they dislike. The game is not perfect. It still suffers from classic issues such as outscaling and easy to lock out quests. Despite this, I immensely enjoyed the solid combat, challenging me every step of the way. The incredible world and lore delivered in a controlled, subtle, and paced manner kept me hooked. All of this is bound together by a striking visual design and presented in a capable engine. Should you like the style it offers, it is one of the best games in the genre. Trying it out is rather simple, as it is one of the few games in this day and age that has a free demo. And if you have a friend who already owns the game, you can play on his save. Not that you would risk much by buying it. At now $30 baseline and $18 during sales, it is a steal for the amount of content it contains. And I honestly hope you would enjoy it as much as I did. Oh, they announced a sequel. I can't wait, this looks so damn good. Okay, what does your browsing history look like, my man? Actually, I don't know what I was expecting, considering this is their official Twitter account.